Hi everyone, welcome back to today's video. For today we're going to be doing this fun little shaker card using our jar of flowers and a few of the things really from the Flowers for Every Season suite in our new annual catalog. I will say, when I saw this suite and I saw these products, I knew that I wanted to play with them, and I loved the shaker dome that fits perfectly with the mason jar here. I just couldn't figure out how exactly I wanted to use it, and it was really bothering me, and I was really struggling with it. And so finally I sat down and I just kind of started playing and seeing what worked, and I came up with this card, and I'm actually really excited with how it turned out. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's project. To get into what we are going to be using, so as I said, we're going to use the Jar of Flowers stamp set. Now this stamp set doesn't come with any sentiments, so you do need to pair it with something else, but it has a ton of really pretty images in it, and it has these two, or I guess these four images are actually two stamps, and they're reversible. I'm not going to be using those today. I'm not going to be using the reversible technique, I guess I should say, today, but I just wanted to note that these are all, and this one actually also, I forget about this one, these are all reversible stamps, these three here. So it's a really versatile stamp set. So I love this one, and I love all the pretty flowers. So that's the first stamp set that we're going to be using. And then for my greeting, I'm going to use the Itty Bitty Greetings. One of the issues that I was having when I was trying to play with this and design a card is the flower and the mason jar are such large images, and the mason jar is a little wonky to kind of put things over and whatnot. So I was trying to figure out how to get a sentiment in here where it still looked really nice. And so I thought about, hey, how do I incorporate these itty bitty greetings? Because that's kind of what they're for, right? They're there for little tiny sentiments that you need. And this one works perfectly. So we're going to be using this. This comes in, there's actually two parts to this one. So this is the 2 of 2, and we're using this Hope You're Feeling Better stamp set. I thought it went really well with the flowers. It's kind of like when you send somebody flowers when they're not feeling great or when they're a little down. So I thought that one was really nice. And then the next thing we're going to use are the Stitch So Sweetly dies. So we're using a couple of dies from this to cut out what our sentiment is going to go on. We're also using the jar punch. This is the coordinating punch that goes with the Jar of Flowers stamp set. These come in a bundle, or as I was saying, you can purchase them all together with a bunch of these other products in the Flowers for Every Season suite. So we're going to be using that. Onto kind of the shaker aspect of our card. So we're going to use the Flowers for Every Season gems. That's what's going to fill our little mason jar here, but you can use kind of whatever you have on hand. There's a really cool example in the catalog, I believe, where they put like oats in there, which I think oats would be really pretty. Another good alternative, if you have this on hand, is the Whale of a Time sequins. So this is another little new embellishment that's in our annual catalog. And it has like some seashells and whatnot in it, but you could easily pick the seashells out. And then it's actually really pretty watercolors. So I think that one would be really pretty also if you don't have the Flowers for Every Season and you wanted to just kind of use what you had on hand. And then the mason jar shaker domes, I'm going to show you guys how to use these. These are really awesome, and it makes making a shaker card super easy. We had some of these not too long ago, I believe, with our annual, or I'm sorry, with our holiday catalog, if I remember correctly. I can't 100% remember. And it just makes making a shaker card really easy. You don't have to worry about a window sheet and kind of lining everything up. It makes it really easy. There is a little bit of a trick to get it to look super nice. So I'll be showing you guys that. Then we are going to use some Stampin' Right markers. So I'm going to do some very basic coloring here, but if you wanted to step it up, absolutely use your Stampin' Blends. Watercolor, you can use watercolor paper instead and watercolor the images. Use whatever you want. I just wanted to keep it really simple for today, so I'm just going to do some flat color. I'm not going to do anything crazy with my Stampin' Right markers. So I have the 2020 to 2022. Whew, that was a mouthful. In color Stampin' Right markers. So I'm actually going to be using 4 out of the 5 in colors. So we have Misty Moonlight, this one is Bumblebee, this one is Just Jade, and this one is Magenta Madness. The other one is Cinnamon Cider. That's the other one. I can't see it. I'm like trying to see around my lights and stuff, but it's Cinnamon Cider, I promise. So I'm not going to be using that one, but I am going to be using all of these. And then I'm also using my Pool Party marker. Really all I'm doing for this is adding some water into the mason jar itself. So as you can see, I actually used quite a few of these little gems here, and they don't fill up the shaker a ton. So I wanted to give it still that look that it had lots of water in it. So that's what I'm using this Pool Party marker for. Really, you can use whatever marker you want, and you don't even have to do it, honestly. It's just an extra little detail that I wanted to add in. For ink, we are going to be using Magenta Madness and Stays On Jet Black. For paper, so we have just this little scrap here of Magenta Madness. This is just large enough to cut out this little piece for our sentiment. We have 2 pieces of Whisper White, so again, just a little scrap for our sentiment. And then this piece is cut at 2 1/4 by 5 inches. We have this piece of the Flowers for Every Season Designer Series paper. So it's got this really pretty floral. This actually kind of goes with the image that we're doing here today. It has this really pretty floral on the back, but we're going to be using this green polka dot, and this is cut at 4 inches by 5 1/4. And then we have our standard size card base. This is in Bumblebee, which is another, which is one of our new in colors. This card actually gives you a lot of examples, or it uses a lot of our new in colors, I should say. So this is our standard size card base in Bumblebee, cut at 8 1/2 by 5 1/2 and scored at 4 1/4. So let's go ahead and jump into it. Okay, so as usual, I just want to get all of my big shot work out of the way. So I'm going to take my little scrap of Whisper White and my Magenta Madness ink, and I'm going to stamp the little sentiment that says, "Hope you're feeling better." And I'm just going to stamp it right in the middle of my Whisper White piece. I will be honest, I've had the Itty Bitty Greetings for quite some time, and I just haven't really used them. But they're so perfect for things like this, and I just kind of always forget about them because I'm like, yeah, I want this big, beautiful, super fancy font and script and whatever sentiment. And it's actually nice to just use something really basic and really tiny for a change. So I'm really, really loving this, and I think it just fits very perfectly with this card. So now from our, I forget what this is called. Stitch So Sweetly Dies. Phew. This is the small, so you have a set of rectangle stitched shapes, and then you have some other kind of ornate shapes. So this is the smallest of the other ones, and that's the one that we're going to be using to cut out our sentiment. So when you put it on here, it's going to look like, oh no, you're covering up a lot of the sentiment. You're not actually going to cover it up. It'll cut and then you can actually see it, which is really nice. So we're going to do that. And then the next largest size up in that same set, we're going to cut using, we're going to cut this shape out of our Magenta Madness. So let me bring in my big shot. And I'm going to do these one at a time just so I can line up the sentiment. Ooh, I kind of got my fingers in that. I'm going to stamp this again really quickly, just because I don't want it to look like I smeared it, because I totally did. So I'm going to let that sit for just a second so I don't smear it again, and then in the meantime we will cut out the piece of Magenta Madness. I love this color. It is so gorgeous. When I was coloring, so I'm going to color some of the flowers with the Stampin' Right marker. They turned out absolutely gorgeous. I absolutely love them. Super, super pretty. Ooh, as usual, my plates are all gross and I can't get stuff off of them. But don't worry, new machine coming out really soon, so I'll be able to replace this bad boy and get some new plates. But yeah, I started playing with the color and it's just gorgeous. This paper is so bright and so vibrant. I love it. And the markers and the ink, they just match it perfectly, so I'm in love. So I think that should be dry now, or better. So we're just going to line that up as best as we can. And then smush it down. Bring it back through. There we go. See, so it gets really, really close to the edge and into the stitching. And even if you got it into the stitching, it probably wouldn't be that big of a deal. You'd for sure still be able to read it, but it actually fits almost perfectly in that little die. So we're going to take these and we're going to set those off to the side. I just like to get my big shot work out of the way first, so that when everything else is good to go, I can just assemble and I don't have to worry about it. So next we're going to bring in our piece of Whisper White. So again, this one is cut at 4 1/4 by 5 inches. We're also going to grab our Stays On. And we're gonna grab a few of these stamps. So I'm gonna use the mason jar, these little stems, and then I'm using I'm calling these tulips. They kind of look like tulip flowers to me. You have 4 different floral options. I would say these 2, you could probably get away with the same size piece of paper. Yeah, you for sure could with that one. I think the sunflowers, and then for sure these, I'm calling them peonies because I love peonies and that's what they kind of look like to me. You'd need to increase the width of your paper a little bit, but for this one and for the other 2, you could for sure use this same size paper. So I'm going to start by stamping my mason jar. And so we're going to stamp this at the bottom, and really you just want to be sure to leave about 1/4 of an inch from the bottom of the piece of paper, and that's because you want to make sure that you have enough room to adhere your little shaker dome, and I'll show you guys obviously how we do that in a little bit. So you just want to make sure you leave a little bit of room at the bottom for that. Next, I'm going to stamp my stems just because I think it just goes next logically. So I'm going to stamp it right on top of the stamp I just stamped. I feel like I just said stamp, 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 stamp. And then I'm going to take my flowers and get that nice and inked up. And for this stamp, I actually like to put my ink pad to the stamp just because it's a little more intricate and it's a little bit bigger. So I find that I just get better ink coverage doing that. And I'm going to try to line this up as best as I can and not get my head too in the shot. I may have to move it just a smidge closer. Sorry, guys. Okay, and we're just going to go with that and hope it looks good. Yeah, not too bad at all. Perfect. Okay, so I'm going to take this and I'm going to put him away because we don't need him anymore either. Okay, so first thing we're going to do is color our image. So I'm actually just going to waft this for just a second to make sure it's super dry so I don't smudge anything again. I don't know why I've been having an issue with smudging lately, but I have apparently. So I'm going to start with the, ooh, I got some stuff on my marker. I don't know what it is. I'm going to start with the Just Jade marker, and I'm just going to use this to color all of the stems. Very simple, nothing too crazy, really, really easy. Again, I'm not doing anything super complicated when it comes to my coloring. I'm literally just going to lay down some flat color here, and that's going to be what it is. I think it looks really nice without having to get it too overly complicated, and I really, really like how it turns out. So I am going to go ahead and color this. I'm going to color, so I'm going to be using the 4 new in colors to color this entire image. So I'm going to do the stems in green and then just the flowers in these varying colors. This is the color combination that I did on my sample. I think I might actually switch it up. I'm going to keep the tulip, I'm calling them tulips, in the Magenta Madness, and I think I'm going to swap the other 2 colors just to see what it looks like, just to see if I like the effect anymore. Actually, you know what? I think I'm not going to do that. I'm lying to you guys. Maybe, I don't know. I'm going to roll with it and see what happens, but I'm just going to go ahead and color this and then I'll be right back. Okay, so I'm done coloring all of my flowers, and the last thing I'm going to do is take my Pool Party marker, and I would say about halfway up the mason jar, I'm just going to kind of color in the mason jar. Just like that, just to add a little bit of extra water to it. Like I said, we're going to be adding the little shaker bits in there, but when they're all the way at the bottom, they don't really come up very high, and I used quite a few of them. It's just because the shaker dome is so thick. So I just like it because it just adds a little extra something to it. So there is that. Now we're really just getting into assembling this card. So I'm going to do something that I normally don't do. I'm going to assemble this stuff first. So I have my card base and I have my piece of designer series paper. I'm going to go ahead and adhere this down. Let me grab my Stampin' seal. And I'm going to put this down first onto my card base. And I promise this helps tremendously. When I did my sample, I am not gonna lie to you guys, I messed that up so much along the way, but I learned from my mistakes, and so now I feel like I've got it and I'm good. So next we are going to take our little flower, our colored image, and we're going to use our jar punch, and we are going to punch out the little mason jar. Oops, I want it a little bit further over. That looks pretty good. So we're just going to punch that out. It seems like, oh my gosh, why did we just do this? We just colored this really pretty image and now we're just taking it apart. What the heck? No, I promise you're not. I promise. So we want to take the little mason jar that we just punched out, and we're going to put our Stampin' Seal on the back. I almost just said snail. It's not snail. And then you just want to take this other piece here, and you want to kind of line it up to where you want this to go. Don't adhere it down yet, to just kind of use it for placement. We're kind of use it as a template. So that's where I want my piece long term. So then I'm just going to slide my little mason jar piece in right there, and then I'm going to pull this piece up. Just like that. So now we are going to take our little mason jar domes. We just need one of them. And so the mason jar domes, so this is the top side, and then this side is open back here. And on each side you have adhesive. So on the side that's the dome piece, you want to go ahead and remove that adhesive. So this is why I was saying you want to leave at least like 1/4 inch on the bottom. So you're gonna slide your piece, your Whisper White piece, oh my gosh, I can't talk, on top, just like that. And so you want enough room down there to where you can adhere it and you don't see the end. So this piece is open back here, and then this is gonna go perfectly right on there. So next what we want to do, and I messed up, I should have put some Stampin' Seal on here first, so I'm going to go ahead and do that right now. It just makes it easier when you go to adhere this down if you do it first. So you can kind of tell now I'm a little bit fussing with my dome. I'm not going to worry about it too much. It's going to be perfectly fine. So... sorry, I was looking for my spoon. I'm going to take my gems, and this is how I do it. You can do it a different way. I just find that this way, this technique works pretty well. So this right here, this piece of Whisper White, our little mason jar that we just stuck down, this is where all of our gems are going to go. So I just use a spoon. Oops, maybe I'll use a spoon. I'm getting a little low here, so it's going to be a little harder to fish all of these out. But I'm just going to use a spoon, and then I'm going to just stack them in the center of this. It's not as hard as it probably sounds, as you guys think. It's pretty easy to you just want them all to be right there in the middle of your mason jar. We may actually just kind of scoop some of these out. When you have a lot in here, when you have a fresh little pack, you can just spoon them out, but because I've used so many, it's not as easy. I'm just scooching them all in there. I'm actually going to use some more. I'm just trying to wrangle the ones that I have so far. There, just like that. So you just want to make sure they're all on the mason jar. I'm going to close this up before I spill them all over the place. And then what you're going to do is you have another adhesive strip on the back, and you're going to pull that off of your mason jar, and then you are just going to line it up, and it should kind of just snugly sit in there just like that. And now you have your little shaker. Perfect, isn't it? So let's set that off to the side. Oh, actually, no, I'm not going to set that off to the side. I'm lying to you guys. I'm going to bring in my piece that we cut out earlier out of Magenta Madness. I'm going to put some Stampin' Seal on that. And I'm going to stick that down right about there. Then I'm going to take my little itty bitty sentiment, and I'm going to put some dimensionals on the back. You could use mini dimensionals here, but regular dimensionals actually fit perfectly fine. And then we are going to plop this down right in the middle. That looks good. And I'm going to grab my bone folder, fold this guy over. And that is it. Now we have our cute little shaker card. I think this is adorable and it's really easy to put together. Really simple coloring. You have this fun technique of having the shaker dome in here. I absolutely love it. So I hope you guys enjoyed this one as well. As always, you can find all of these products, everything that I use, by visiting my coordinating blog post. It's the first description in the, it's the first description. It's the first link in the description box below, and you can purchase all of these items 24/7 just by going to littlemooncreation.stampinup.net. If you have any questions, I'm always around and would love to chat. Other than that, I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!